Welcome to Live Life Legendary, where you would find podcasts and mini courses to improve your life weekly. This is part 3 of How to Change Your Beliefs mini course. My name is Prince, and today we will learn how to identify and analyze our limiting beliefs. There are several self-reflecting questions you will see in this video. You may pause to answer them or copy them from description below and answer them when you have free time. So let's begin. To accomplish our goals, they must be in alignment with 6 psychological structures. They are our life's purpose, our needs as human beings, our core values, our abilities, our identities, and our belief systems. The last part is where things start to go downhill for most people. It's undoubtedly one of the key reasons why our desires and dreams don't materialize physically. The number of limiting beliefs holding us back is just enormous, and so we self-sabotage over and over again. Hence, the first step in changing our lives is to identify our limiting beliefs. However, this could be tricky and complicated. It would take some introspection and understanding to discover what these beliefs are and how they keep us from moving ahead. Here are 6 steps that we can use to identify our limiting beliefs. Step number 1, find what you want. Our first move is to find what we really want. What goals, desires, or outcomes we would like to accomplish. What have we been pursuing for all these weeks, months, or even years, but unable to achieve them for some reason or another? Our limiting beliefs are mitigating our efforts. We'll get to limiting beliefs a little later. The most important thing at this stage is to define what we desire. We could use questions like, what do I really want in life? What kind of person would I want to be? What goals would I like to achieve? Why do I want them? What are the advantages, etc. The stronger our why is, the more motivated we are. And that is why we must invest our time in answering these questions. On a side note, I must mention that once we realize that we are not our minds, but interconnected pieces of the universe collecting experiences, we won't need motivation or discipline anymore to push ourselves to take necessary action. We will just act effortlessly. Our desires would just give us a general direction to gather life experiences, and we would just follow that direction fearlessly. Nevertheless, the box that's our mind is an essential tool, so we must identify what's inside it and throughout use that junk to make sure it's working properly. Step number 2, explore your self-sabotaging behaviors. Before we go on, we must also understand that most beliefs are typically neutral. For example, 2 people can have the same belief, but it may work for one but not for the other. Similarly, a particular belief can help us in one situation but not in another. Thus, the impact of a belief depends on the person and the situation. So it's essential to recognize the usefulness of a belief in relation to our unique conditions and goals. If it helps us and supports our goals, then it's useful. However, if it never supports us, instead hinders our growth, it's a limiting belief. Limiting beliefs usually operate below conscious awareness. However, there are subtle hints we can use to uncover them. These signs can be seen when we go through hardships and hurdles while pursuing our goals. When we fail to overcome these hurdles, we will find our limiting beliefs lurking in the shadows. They manifest in many ways, like we may feel a sort of internal resistance to take action. We may feel anxious and nervous for unknown reasons. We may develop imposter syndrome and doubt ourselves. We may procrastinate. We may avoid particular tasks or people. We may act lazy. We may react emotionally and spoil relationships with others. We may overindulge ourselves in meaningless pleasures. We may start spending money on things we don't need and for people who don't care. We may start making more risky decisions, or we may exhaust ourselves with worry and overanalysis. Can you relate to any of these? The list is really endless, but each one of them has the potential to destroy our plans for success. And in these behaviors, we will find our limiting beliefs and we can bring them to the surface. Step number 3, Identifying limiting beliefs behind your self-sabotaging behaviors. Next time, when you're working towards your goals, make a list of all the self-sabotaging you indulge in and try to identify the beliefs driving these behaviors. The more psychological resistance you encounter, the more limiting beliefs lie hidden in your subconscious. Questions are the most potent weapon we have in our arsenal while fighting our inner demons. The following questions can help us in revealing them. What resistance do I experience inside my mind when I'm thinking about achieving this goal? Why can't I overcome specific obstacles to reach my goals? What's stopping me? What's precisely standing in my way? What sort of unhelpful habits do I indulge in? What thoughts do I have about this situation? What do I say or do to myself that's holding me back? What excuses do I tend to give? What's the meaning behind these excuses? Why am I making them? What kind of stuff do I tend to complain about or blame others for? Is it possible that I have some psychological rules that prevent me from moving forward? What negative and pessimistic thoughts do I give into while pursuing this goal? What assumptions or conclusions do I make about my inability to accomplish this goal? Do I have any global beliefs that are holding me back? What do I expect to happen? What normally happens? Why is there a miscalculation? Do I have low standards for myself? Why? Should I set them higher? Do I have values that are at odds with my goals? What are my beliefs on these values? Do I carry opposing beliefs about my goals or actions? How do I label or identify myself when I'm working towards this goal? How could this cause problem? What stories am I telling myself about what I should or shouldn't do and what should or shouldn't happen? How is this important? The quality of questions we ask ourselves is the quality of life we live. Limiting beliefs can have layers over layers of other beliefs. Having taken the time to focus on these questions, it's now crucial to drill down on the real limiting beliefs holding us back. We need to ask ourselves, what insights do I get concerning my real limiting beliefs from these answers? Which specific limiting beliefs are holding me back right now? How do these limiting beliefs hinder me from reaching my desired goals and objectives? And how these limiting beliefs are stopping me from becoming the person I want to be? Step number 4. Analyze the origin of these beliefs and the references attached to them. Now that we have identified our limiting beliefs, we must analyze them and find out how they got into our heads and why are we still holding on to them. If we understand the origin and intended purpose, we could eliminate or transform them. Maybe these limiting beliefs are connected to our early childhood memories and are no longer relevant. Recalling and analyzing these memories may help us let go of particular events and forgive those who wronged us. We may even find the courage to forgive ourselves. Another reason it's important to explore the origin of our limiting beliefs is that they evolve by collecting references. By digging out the roots, we can also analyze the countless references that have fed these beliefs. To support us with this process, we can ask, how did I build this particular limiting belief? Why have I continued to believe that way? What references do I use to support this limiting belief? What acquired knowledge supports this belief? What experiences or perceptions validate this belief? What intensely emotional experiences justify this belief? What imaginary benefits have I been associating with this belief? What stuff have I imagined? What stories have I invented? Many references are usually fabricated in our minds, and so they are unreliable and have no validity. Assumptions and incomplete or inaccurate knowledge could also produce incorrect references. Some references may be based on real experiences, but over time, the brain has a tendency to twist our past experiences every time we recall them to shield us from painful facts. It might be challenging to remember what really happened to us, so it's possible that what happened might not have happened the way we think it happened. Because of this, we may want to invest some time unlocking these memories to discover the core of our limiting beliefs. Step 5. Understand their intended purpose or use. It is also essential to understand that each of our limiting beliefs has an intended purpose. They may be either protecting us from things that can cause us pain or guiding us towards the things that can give us pleasure. However, the problem with limiting beliefs is that they are often misguided. They incorrectly define things as painful and pleasurable. They are our irrational fears, the false sense of lack, and inaccurate interpretation of the reality. They make us pursue short-term pleasure and escape immediate pain, which ironically leads to long-term misery. We need to discover what we gain by hanging on to our limiting beliefs. We can ask, what is the good intention or initial purpose behind this belief? What pleasures do I get or the pain I avoid from hanging on to this limiting belief? What benefit or value am I reaping or was reaping from this belief? To overcome limiting beliefs, either we need to persuade ourselves that the benefits we derive from them are no longer required, or we need to replace them with empowering belief to fill the gap. The choice is ours. Step 6. Study the internal representation of these beliefs to reduce their emotional intensity. The last thing we need to analyze before we start transforming our limiting beliefs is their emotional intensity. Removing or transforming our limiting beliefs can be challenging because they are usually emotionally charged. Most beliefs would have internal representations in our minds. We can measure the emotional intensity of our beliefs by identifying the submodality we use for their internal representations. Let me clarify some definitions here. We majorly use 5 sensory modes to create an internal representation of reality. You know them. They are vision, sound, taste, smell, and touch. These are called modalities, and they can be broken down further into submodalities. For example, the modality of vision could have submodalities like the color, brightness, size, distance, motion, etc. Most rigid limiting beliefs are backed by very vivid and powerful submodalities, which make them emotionally intense. For example, you want a raise in your salary, but you are afraid to ask your boss. What's happening here? Maybe when you imagine having a conversation with your boss in your head, you may see yourself smaller in size and the boss way larger than you. You may imagine hearing a harsh or rude tone in his or her voice. Basically, you are exaggerating things so much in your head that you are scared to even ask. The emotion of fear is amplified. There is most certainly a limiting belief that's attached to this emotion, which might be telling you that you haven't done anything to deserve a raise, or your boss is scary. This may or may not be accurate, but you believe it's true. Thus, you have this negative internal representation with intense emotions. We can analyze the internal representation of our limiting beliefs by asking questions like, how do I see or imagine the workings of this limiting belief in my head? What pictures do I use? How does it sound? How does it feel? Does it have a smell? What does it taste like? And most importantly, what are the submodalities of this sensory information? We can adjust these submodalities to reduce the emotional intensity of this belief. For instance, instead of picturing your boss as a terrifying monster, you can imagine them as a cute little bunny and realize that it's not that bad. As a result, your anxiety will be diminished and you will be in a better position mentally to have that talk with your boss. We will cover some modalities in detail in a different video. But now, it's important to remember that limiting beliefs are not only based on imagination, but can also be based on reality. Nevertheless, we should treat them as issues that needs to be resolved to reach our goals. Let me summarize all the 6 steps here. Step 1. Find your goals. Step 2. Explore your self-sabotaging behaviors. Step 3. Identify the limiting beliefs behind your self-sabotaging behavior. Step 4. Analyze the origin of these beliefs and the references attached to them. Step 5. Understand their intended purpose or use. And step 6. Study the internal representation of these beliefs to reduce their emotional intensity. Once you have done that, you can move to the next video to learn a step-by-step process to transform your limiting belief systems into empowering convictions. So make sure you like and subscribe this channel and hit the bell icon to get notification when new videos are premiered. That's all for this video. Thanks for watching Live Life Legendary.